Hello and welcome to today's 2021 MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Showcase. I'm Kevin Vasho, your host, and today we're showcasing POC 133 entitled SD-WAN with 5G and network slicing with AT&T, Ericsson, and VMware. And now I'm going to expect that you'll be as intrigued as I was when I was told about this POC, how it was demonstrating grab and go in a retail environment achieved using AI, ML, SD-WAN, and Edge. Our program today kicks off with an introduction to the POC by Will Eberall, AVP Product Management at AT&T, leading their virtual edge organization, followed by the demonstration itself, a business panel, then a Q&A session where we'll direct your question to the appropriate company representatives. You can queue up your questions anytime, by the way, by selecting the Q&A tab on the right. So let's get started. Will, great to have you here. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Will Eberall, Assistant Vice President of Product Management, leading our Virtual Edge product organization at AT&T Business. I have the privilege of introducing you to our AT&T SD-WAN powered with 5G leveraging network slicing proof of concept. At AT&T, we've seen firsthand how the pandemic has impacted businesses both small and large. We've seen how it's accelerated the urgency around broader digital transformation for all enterprise businesses. A lot of those being centered around broader cloud transformation, going from centralized cloud models to heavily distributed cloud models. We've seen this really increase the interest around a technology of SD-WAN and how that can provide better application visibility, performance, and security into this heavily distributed cloud environment. We've also seen the interest around 5G from a business use case perspective. How can that drive further automation coupled with IoT and edge compute capabilities? Well, today, we're going to link a lot of these technologies and challenges in an end-to-end solution for your business. We're going to focus primarily on a retail-specific use case, but I think this use case can solve a lot of challenges across a number of different industries. In this retail environment, we're going to have multiple IoT endpoints that are going to be powered by 5G. The applications these IoT endpoints are running on require low latency processing that wouldn't be able to be supported by that head-end Azure instance. So we're going to virtualize that application, provision it locally so that low latency processing can take place. In addition to that, we're going to be virtualizing VMware's SD-WAN functionality to evaluate the remaining applications in that retail environment. That will be profiling those applications and making real-time decisions on the performance of the underlay links and which path and priority to send those down. One of those wide area network links is going to be our 5G network. And we'll be able to honor that priority end-to-end back into that Azure cloud by using network slicing, providing end-to-end QoS and SLAs, even in a congested mobile network environment. All of these technologies are going to be fully integrated in with Ericsson's composite orchestration for a single pane of glass, complete visibility and control. So hopefully this gets you excited about all the potential this has for your business and your own transformation. And lastly, I just want to thank MEF for their global leadership in building standards against a lot of these emerging technologies. Without further ado, AT&T SD-WAN powered by 5G leveraging network slicing.
This is Vin Mohite from AT&T. This proof of concept is jointly developed between Ericsson, VMware, and AT&T. Using AT&T's SDS platform. As we continue to deploy our SD-WAN solutions across the globe, many customers are asking for 5G availability, and they want to use 5G as one of the network connectivity options for SD-WAN deployment. And network slicing is also going to be available as 5G picks up later this year. So using SDS platform, you can use both BSS layer applications as well as the OSS layer applications. Which is using our existing infrastructure, we can do a global rollout. And AT&T SDS platform is well integrated with MEF API standards and many other industry API standards. For this retail use case, grab and go application, we decided to use SDS platform. But this platform can be used for many other use cases and 5G, SD-WAN, and network slicing deployments across multiple different channels and segments. With that, I'm going to hand it off to my teammate to walk us through the rest of the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Win. Now we will showcase a technical demo for Proof of Concept 133, which is focused on innovative retail use cases featuring a cashier-less grab-and-go or G&G application using the AT&T SD-WAN with VMware and 5G network as the underlay, leveraging 5G network slice for enterprise customers. The demo highlights deployment of enterprise customer network workloads using smart placement algorithms and orchestration of the same across customer premise, edge core sites, and public cloud. This proof of concept is executed on a real 5G network, including 5G radio and core network functions using 5G network slice for enterprise customer network service deployment. The demo is explained in 6 steps, highlighting topology discovery, smart placement of applications, and end-to-end orchestration, including SD-WAN and 5G network slicing. Also, as part of this demo, we will show a live demonstration of the cashier-less grab-and-go application. This proof of concepts contains multiple steps. The first 3 steps will show public cloud topology discovery and integration with customer access topology, an essential first step to discover customer network to understand how it is set up. Application placement based on specific service template and discovered topology. This will help with placement for optimal signal strength and performance. And finally, lifecycle management to manage a service end-to-end. In this POC, the application is a cluster as a service, and it's consumed by users connected to a 5G access area called Access 1. This slide summarizes the demo topology from Ericsson's T15 lab to multiple HCP availability zones in different regions. As a first step, we will trigger the whole topology discovery via the Ericsson Orchestrator Service Orchestrator by triggering the action Discover Topology and Outposts to load the topology from the network. The result is the whole topology discovered and loaded into the Service Orchestrator's inventory system. Now that Service Orchestrator has a view of entire topology, this data will be leveraged to place the application in an optimized fashion. Let's create a service instance by using the Tosca service template. Apart from the service name, the other inputs to create the service are 5G access area called Access 1 with the maximum latency of 45 milliseconds for customer Acme while giving admin access to current IP. Based on that request and the discovered topology, the Ericsson Service Designer decides to use the availability zone US West 2B as primary, the cheapest that satisfies the user request, and the availability zone US West 2C as secondary or backup. After a while, the cluster is deployed and the service deployment is completed. The next 3 steps of the POC will create the enterprise service for end-to-end connectivity using Ericsson Orchestrator. The enterprise service entails the orchestration of the G&G app on Azure Public Cloud, automation of the SD-WAN VNF on the Azure Public Cloud, the 5G user plane function, which is the CNF deployed on Kubernetes cluster, placed close to the UE, providing local breakout to the G&G application, and finally, configuring the RAN and the SD-WAN, serving as the controller to provide the best SLA. To realize the enterprise service, a service template is designed, which serves as a blueprint. Here, the service template is a Tosca-based template having several components, including an Etsy network service, an Etsy CNF, in this case the UPF, the SD-WAN VNF, the grab-and-go application, and the slice configuration, which includes RAN and SD-WAN configuration. The network slice configuration is across RAN and SD-WAN. On the RAN side, As seen on the screen, the NSSAI slice selection param, the 5QI table, quality of service, and resource partition are configured to provide the end-to-end quality of service for a given enterprise. On SD-WAN, policies are defined to provide the best service level agreement based on latency and packet loss threshold. With that, let's go through the Tosca template, which will be used to bring up the MEC service. Here, the Tosca-based template is shown. And if we scroll all the way towards the node template, you will be able to see several nodes, which includes the CNF, in this case the UPF, the HCP applications, in this case the SD-WAN VNF and the grab-and-go application, which would be deployed on Azure, and finally the configuration for RAN and SD-WAN. You see here that we have several input parameters also declared in this template, which is making this template reusable. We'll go to Ericsson Service Orchestrator UI and orchestrate the enterprise service using the template that was pre-onboarded prior to this demo. We will create the service and look out for the template. As you can see, the template pre-onboarded was selected, and you can see several parameters. Notice that the default values of some of the parameters are now populated. Next, we will provide the values for the rest of the parameters. For example, giving a unique name to the service. To create the service, we will click on Save and Execute. This takes a few seconds. When the execution of the service starts, you would be able to see several steps. Service Orchestrator will be executing each step with the help of the service template. As you can see, the service is in progress. And if we click on Deploy, you can see there are 6 different steps that are going to be executed. Now, the RAN configuration is in progress, indicated by the state, whereas the rest of the steps that are going to be executed are grayed out. These steps are executed sequentially, and it takes a few minutes for each of them to finish. With that, we also want to show you the topology and how it will appear based on the template. Here you can see that this is the topology of the service, which was defined based on the service template. We will go back to the service details and just wait for a few seconds before this completes. As you can see, after the RAN is configured, the SD-WAN VNF and other steps would be executing.
This is the VMware SD-WAN over-the-top architecture that is being showcased in this demo. We use the SD-WAN orchestrator as the management front end for this solution. We have our VMware SD-WAN gateways, which are located in various POPs across the country and around the globe. Lastly, we have the SD-WAN edges, where we have one deployed in the lab, and we also have another one deployed natively within Microsoft Azure. This is an overall diagram of what the solution looks like. We have our VeloCloud Edge that sits within the enterprise branch where the vending machine is located, leveraging our SD-WAN overlay to communicate to the server that is located in Azure Public Cloud. Another component to this is the customizable template that we use for Azure Edge deployment. From here, we can automate and orchestrate the entire deployment of a new edge within Azure to enable cloud connectivity within minutes. This is our orchestrator, where we show the 2 edges that are being used for this demo. There's the one that is located in our lab and the other one that is located within Azure. We also have a custom business policy defined for our vending machine application. We have it configured for high priority and multipath to ensure that we're having the best possible experience from our VeloCloud Edge to the remote side located in Azure.
Let's go over the demo and overview of the enterprise network slice. The grab-and-go application that we are going to show you as a part of the enterprise slice is an incubation project, which is an MVP. And we are currently doing user trials in Ericsson at the Plano and Beijing campuses. You can see here The enterprise slice has several components, including the cooler, the cameras, the connectivity through 5G SLA solution, the AI processing and image processing through the cloud, and the mobile application for user interaction.
All right, thanks, Neha. So over here, what we're doing is we are running the demo for the cashier-less grab and go application. What we'll do is we'll have the demo into two different parts. So we'll start with part one first. What I'm sharing over here on the screen is a live broadcast of the phone that I'll be using for the demo, so that you're able to see as we move along with the process, you'll be able to see how we utilize the app and how the transaction goes through. Now let's get started with the demo. So before that, let's actually do a tour of the components that we have over here. So for that, I'll utilize the camera app on the phone. And if you see over here, this right here is the cooler, and we have all the instructions set over here for the customers on how to download the application, how to go about the transaction, and how to do the payment. The second component is the QR code over here. All the customer has to do is open up the application, scan the QR code, and they will be able to get access into the cooler. And as you see right now, the door of the cooler is shut, which means that we only allow authorized user to get access into the cooler. And the third component is the Gemtech device. And if you look closer, the Gemtech device is connected to 5G, and the cooler is connected to 5G node via the Ethernet cable to the Gemtech device. Now getting started with the actual demo. So for that, I'll get into the application. This is the application for grab and go. And as you see to the left side top corner, we have the information for the customer. For the right side, we have the number of credits that we have available with the customer, which means that only this particular platform will be utilized to validate if we have an authorized user or not. Now let's start with the actual demo. You click scan QR code. You scan the QR code on the machine. And you hear a click, which means that the door is now open. You open it up and purchase the products that you need. In this case, I'll pick up a Coke and I'll pick up a Sprite product. And then we come to the application again. And as you see, it only charges me for that one Coke and one Sprite. And I go ahead and do a confirm 20 coins. And if you see on the right side top corner, the number of credit goes down and the 20 coins are deducted from the total credits that we have. So like you see, for the customers, it's a very simple application. All they have to do is just scan, open and purchase the product that they need, and complete the transaction on the application.
Thanks to great teamwork between AT&T, Ericsson, and VMware to bring all components together to showcase this innovative use case of AT&T SD-WAN with VMware and 5G with network slicing demo. We also thank all participants for viewing our demo on how we can help enterprises to efficiently launch new use cases offered by AT&T in near future.
Great demo, team. Of course, it all looks so simple when you see the end product, but very deep technically, many piece parts to this. So, we're interested in knowing more, and obviously, and I'm going to now turn it over to Daniel Barlev, that's VP of Strategic Programs, and he's also our MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Program Director. He's going to handle the business panel, but also the Q&A today. So Daniel, and I know you're going to bring in maybe where the MEF standards come into play in this talk as well a little bit. So over to you to take it from here.
Great. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'd like to invite the panelists to join me on screen. While I'm doing that, I'll just highlight the fact that we're going to have some panel discussion over the next 15 or so minutes with the three participating companies, and then after that, we're going to have live Q&A. So if you are interested in asking questions, there's a Q&A chat box there on your interface. And if you feed those questions in, we'll do our best to answer them with the panel. And if we don't get to them live, then we'll get back to you afterwards and answer them then. So I'd like to just introduce our four panelists. Will Everall, AVP at Product Management, leading the Virtual Edge organization at AT&T. Vin Mohite, Lead Product Manager in the same organization at AT&T. Martin Sabli, Head of Orchestration and Fulfillment at Ericsson. And Jaspreet Bhatia, Senior Technical Product Manager at VMware. Welcome, gentlemen. So I will kick off by asking, perhaps Will, can you start the conversation on this POC you, AT&T, Ericsson, and VMware have put together? Can you share your thoughts on why this SD-WAN and 5G together with network slicing is so important for your AT&T customers?
Yeah, love to. Thank you, Daniel. You think about this space right now and you think about this proof of concept and what we're solving in it with the variety of different technologies. This is personally the first time I've ever seen these technologies fully integrated end-to-end to really solve business challenges. What I see a lot of enterprises, they're solving for different components of it, but not really linking the value of that end-to-end solution. So this proof of concept, we've done that, and that really excites me personally. And then when you break apart the different elements, so there's this kind of broader wide area network transformation element. And from an AT&T perspective, this ties really well into kind of our core competencies, our leadership in managed SD-WAN capabilities, what we've been helping clients with, our broad network portfolio of services, from MPLS, Ethernet, Internet, broadband, wireless now, as the different access technologies complemented with managed SD-WAN. And now looking at 5G, right, as another access technology that we can use to add additional value in that wide area network transformation and cloud enablement. And the unique differentiation with 5G and SD-WAN that we've solved for in here is, we can prioritize at the edge that application. And with a wireless technology now, with network slicing, being able to provide that end-to-end performance and SLA into that head-end cloud. Those were limitations with traditional LTE environments that we can solve for with that combination of 5G and SD-WAN. So I think the wide area network plays really well into kind of our core competencies, and I think this proof of concept showcases that. And then you take the second look of what we're doing here in this, which is really within the retail store. And, as I mentioned in the intro, this in-building solution can be solving a lot of different use cases with digitally enabling endpoints within a building. And, you think about how businesses are addressing that now. They're using, Wi-Fi as that. So now we're using 5G as a second form of connectivity with 5G-enabled IoT endpoints. And, you think about the benefit of what 5G can complement with Wi-Fi. It's broader coverage. It's larger throughput. It's higher reliability for these endpoints. It's lower latency processing with the edge compute component. So once again, this ties really well into kind of our value in being a leader in IoT, the 5G element of our capabilities. And now, with that single integration across the in-building, the wide area network transformation, and having complete visibility control across all these technologies, I think is very unique, very innovative, and I think it opens up a lot of ideas for business.
Great. Well, thank you for that perspective from AT&T. Perhaps from VMware, Jaspreet, from VMware's perspective, why is 5G along with SD-WAN? Is that the killer combination? Is it really important? And if you think it is it being driven by market trends, or is something else going on in the market that you can identify?
Sure, Daniel. That's a great question, and it is the question of the hour. Let's take a look at all the advantages that SD-WAN and 5G working together will provide for the customer, right? The first of them is enhanced control, right? So with SD-WAN, although 5G is going to provide a lot of low latency, high bandwidth connections, you need something to manage that data traffic that is flowing across that 5G network, right? And how do you prioritize specific applications? That's where SD-WAN comes in, right? The other thing is increased flexibility, right? So SD-WAN has an API that allows the sharing of provisioning, monitoring, troubleshooting data between the 5G network and the SD-WAN, right? Now, this functionality, let's say when you combine it with the 5G network slicing feature, right? It will provide organizations with the superior management capabilities of software-defined networking with the low latency and the fast throughput of 5G, right? The other thing is application intelligence. That's one of the big ones, right? So now SD-WAN is what's going to provide this application intelligence, right? This high-end functionality to this pairing. Now, when you're using application intelligence, right, you're able to prioritize a set of applications based on your need, right? So let's take an example. Let's say you're having a very critical IoT application, right? So it's a scenario where you're considering, let's say, a manufacturing plant. So you got a lot of critical equipment connected to IoT, and that needs the ultra low latency of the 5G network, right? Now, you still need to recognize that application. You still need to prioritize that application, and maybe you may even need to give it its own 5G network slice, right? So that's where SD-WAN comes in. You can not only recognize that ultra low latency application, you can give it its own 5G network slice, right? And so there will be other traffic flowing across that as well that can be redirected to another internet connection, whereas the IoT devices gets their own dedicated network slicing, right? And that all happens because SD-WAN is able to recognize that application and then prioritize it and possibly give it its own network slice if needed, right? And of course, no discussion is complete without data security. SD-WAN is what's going to provide an always-on, always encrypted connection for the data security. And VMware SD-WAN provides a lot of data security options at the edge, at the cloud level. So all the connections are always encrypted. And so finally, let's talk about real-time measurement of quality, right? So SD-WAN using DMPO technology is going to be measuring the quality of the links at any given time in real time and making decisions, steering decisions based on that real-time measurement, right? So if there is a transport that is showing some brownout conditions, let us say, the ability to steer traffic, and if, let's say, you're dealing with one link only, the ability to remediate the traffic conditions, right, by applying techniques such as negative acknowledgement, zero-D buffering, forward error correction. So that's where SD-WAN plays a part. So in summary, 5G is what brings the high bandwidth, low latency connections, and SD-WAN is what brings the management of this connection. Without putting the proper management prioritization techniques, we will not be able to give the SLAs that the 5G network deserves. Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jaspreet, for that clarity of SD-WAN really being the application-aware capability, but the importance of combining that with 5G and network slicing. So thank you for that. So I'll turn to Martin from Ericsson now. Obviously, Ericsson is a well-known, very big player in 5G. Can you give us your thoughts on why these 5G use cases are going to be important or already important for enterprises? I mean, we tend to think about 5G for the consumer, but obviously there's a huge potential for enterprises. And how do you see this evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. So we had a fantastic 2020 in terms of 5G rollouts. And as you said, 5G is not just important for consumers, providing higher bandwidth in terms of upload and download, but also provides key benefits, especially for enterprise customers. And if I start with bandwidth, of course, it's important to highlight that the application stability is there due to the higher upload and download, but also it enables new use cases, especially in the industry which requires higher throughput, for example, media streaming, broadcasting industry. And looking at the different industries, the lower latency is the key element, which we talked about a lot. But I also want to emphasize this time that it's an enabler for new use cases where you need interactivity, where you need like AR, VR, industrial use cases for controlling sensitive robotics, Industry 4.0 use cases, but also gaming is an important aspect. And then finally, maybe the third advantage is related to connectivity. So 5G is more secure, it is more reliable, and what we showed in this demo is it comes with a completely new capability, the 5G network slicing, which is especially in the 5G standalone is developed so that individual terminals can connect to multiple slices in the same time, and that provides the capability for AT&T customers to provide the exactly right service with the right SLAs. And if you look at it, there are really key aspects to enable this. And one of the key aspects is automation. And I hope in this demo, what we have showed, you see the value of automation. And I would say there are really two aspects of automation. One is to create these services in a very fast and cost-efficient way. Put together SD-WAN, 5G, an application connected to the core. Because initially in the industry, we will try out many new business models, many new use cases. So be out there fast, potentially fail fast, learn, and then improve. The second aspect in terms of automation is once we find these important use cases, to deploy them fast. So when AT&T customers decide to deploy the use case in certain areas or network services, then orchestration enables this in let's say 10-20 minutes end to end.
Okay, excellent. So it sounds like there's a lot of potential there based on the capabilities of 5G and network slicing. Perhaps we'll explore that a little bit during the Q&A. Thank you for that, Martin. Vin, coming to you, MEF's doing a lot of work thanks to its members like AT&T and Ericsson and VMware. Standards that have already been developed, standards that are in the work. How do you see MEF helping out with its work in making this use case and these capabilities work more effectively for you in AT&T?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. As Will mentioned in his intro, thanks to MEF for the leadership in the standards space. We go a long way. AT&T and MEF goes a long way back, and we have been, I think, operating together on many aspects, not only just these current technologies, but I think the relationship goes very deep and back. So for this particular use cases, we have at least 4 or 5 different things put together in every aspect of this solution that whether it's the SD and NFV solution, that's our existing working platform in production. We do have SD and NFV MEF standards that we use, 70.0 and 70.1. Both of them, I think one is in the draft mode, one is stable version. And in that space, I think we have been already leveraging some of those use cases and the specifications that we've received. But also, I think from the network slicing, I looked at your 84 MEF standards APIs, and it's still coming along. It's in the draft mode, but it's filled with a lot of useful use cases, specifically like in network slicing is such a brand new space. So there's a lot to learn from just looking at the documentation and the specifications that you have provided in those. And it's our solution that is put on top of existing platform, which has both the BSS layer components and the OSS layer components. there is a lot more potential in terms of whether it's the north-south APIs or like the billing APIs from end-to-end solution perspective. So I think there is a potential for us to continue to work with you to evolve those standards and also be able to consume those standards as we continue to build these platforms and get our solutions more closer to the customers.
Tremendous. Okay, well, thank you for that. And so I'm going to start with the questions now, the live Q&A. The one that came in was, I'll read it. This was an intriguing demonstration. How soon before we see actual production in stadium and other venues? And I'm going to just expand on that question, because I think that's what is really very compelling about what you've demonstrated here. That there are so many possibilities, but actually they have to be packaged up, right? As products, they need to be productized. And you've got to, I assume, choose your battles and understand which market segments you want to go after. So perhaps one of you could elaborate on that. How quickly do you see this being productized and being made available, whether it's the specific use case or the one that was mentioned in the question, like in sports and stadiums? Who would like to take that question?
Yeah, I can take that. So I think we have been operating, like I think Will and I have been operating in this space for quite some time, right? So we come across all kinds of customer use cases. It spans multiple verticals, multiple industries and sectors and channels. And I think with that kind of experience, I think, and plus I think if you look at AT&T's expertise on the operational side of it, like whether it's our expert engineers or whether it's the technicians, like so there is a definitely know-how in terms of like how these networks work and how to put together the solutions. So what was missing was like basically some of these new key elements that is needed in terms of maturity of the 5G and the network slicing and ability to put together something that makes sense on top of our existing platform. So we can leverage the same expertise, those people who are involved in implementing and installing these solutions, plus the underlying platform from end-to-end code-to-cash solutions. And it's just a matter of coming across a valid use case like a sports makes a lot of sense in this case because it has all the key elements of what's needed for a 5G typical use case and the SD-WAN being part of that as well. So it's just a matter of time for us to, like, I think once we have a valid use case that makes sense commercially as well as I think we are able to put together a quick solution, which I think to Martin's point, that this is all about trying and see what works. And if it doesn't work, fail faster and then improve and then come back and try it again. So it's probably going to take a couple of tries, but I think we are confident that we will be able to pull it off. Any kind of complex use cases like that.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're saying, Vin, in a way that actually you're going to be evolving existing use cases and customer relationships, which you want to add capabilities and features based on these new capabilities that you weren't able to offer. That as well as greenfield opportunities, but perhaps it's those brownfield opportunities that you're going to build on at the beginning. Did I understand you correctly? Yes,
that's what it is. And I think Will can elaborate. I think Will and I have been going around sensing the market in terms of where we can apply this. And so far the response has been quite favorable. I think we feel confident that this is the right direction, this is the right use case. And I think we can definitely build upon top of what we have done here. Will, do you want to add?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, so the stadium one, there's definitely a lot of work being done there. So I think, back to that experience, right? How do you impact it with this technology? So there is a lot of work being done. I don't have direct lens into timing for some of that and, which type of venues we're focused on first. But, back to kind of the business use cases, a lot of these are still in the early stages of, what are the high value use cases that we're going to address first that are going to drive that investment? So, you think about manufacturing with smart factory automation, Industry 4.0, there is significant opportunity in that space around, leveraging 5G edge points. Like I said, it's not is this Wi-Fi versus 5G? In a lot of businesses, I think it's a complement. You know, Wi-Fi will solve for certain digitally enabling endpoints. 5G will solve for other aspects of those that, you know, maybe there's challenges with Wi-Fi. So we're starting to see businesses kind of complement that type of connectivity, and manufacturing is an example. You know, autonomous guided vehicles, where maybe going from access point to access point, there's some reliability, where now with 5G, I can have that consistent performance, you know, between those access points. So that's just one in manufacturing. We're seeing interest, but, you know, with high def video, the throughput limitations could be challenging in different, you know, congestion points with Wi-Fi. So it's evolving, and I think businesses are aggressively looking at this right now, and complementing that with the edge compute elements is very, very exciting.
Okay. So this is actually an adjunct question that came in, and I'll read it. Are mission critical systems such as power grids, are they target applications from microgrid to demanding cases such as high voltage teleprotection? How does AT&T Enterprise view these segments? I'm going to build on that because obviously it's very, very topical at the moment in the current weather situation that's being experienced in the US. But it brings in a lot of other issues. It brings in not only reliability, but it brings in security. I mean, when you talk about mission critical, systems, you're talking about a lot of vulnerabilities potentially for, from the point of view of security. You're talking about reliability of orchestration, not just the underlying technology. So can I throw that out? Would you feel ready to go for these mission critical types of use cases, or do you think it's better to start building up from more consumer oriented type of use cases?
I mean, I don't know if does anyone else want to jump on that one, or I'll start. I would say, is it ready? I think that's, I think you want to start acting on this right now. So what are those critical ones? I think the technology is there. Is the device ecosystem built up enough to solve those elements? I think there's some, we have to do some work on these, right? To really figure out if it truly is there from those high reliability, high visibility elements that we're really trying to solve for. But I would say the time is now, the technology is there. So start working on it, start putting it together. We've got innovation centers, specifically around 5G and the device ecosystems that we can bring in and start, solving for some of these critical ones now. So I would encourage you, I'm not to say that specific use case, it's ready to be addressed, but let's start working towards it now because I think the technology is there.
If I just build a little bit on that, I think it's very interesting what you said, Will. And in terms of reliability, I think this is also a key question. When you put these services into operation, of course, with network slicing, with these technologies, you will be operating, in principle, hundreds of these slices in parallel. So of course, then the question of how do I automate all the operational aspects, closed loop automation, detecting all the faults, applying AI technology to go back and fix the issues as much as possible in an automated way, instead of, as we used to rely on alarms and manually operating this system. So this is also a key part of rolling out network slicing and this kind of complex end-to-end use cases as we show.
Good point, Martin.
So another question, thank you for that, Martin, that came in. If you accidentally scan another bottle, how do you cancel? And if I see the demo, I want to have my cashier back much easier. So I think that sort of brings in the whole thing of the aspect of interconnection with commercial payment systems. How's that going to tie into payment, credit and identification? And if things go wrong, then do you kick the machine or do you kick the camera or do you? phone angrily to a central phone number. I think those are the things that people are thinking about, that it all looks marvelous in the demo, but what happens when things go wrong? Perhaps can you elaborate on that a little bit, Martin?
No, absolutely. I mean, we didn't show all the fail cases, but when you roll out this kind of complex services, you have to think about the entire user interaction, everything what can go wrong, and not just in the network and the technology behind, but also in terms of user behavior and user interaction. But that is, of course, an absolutely essential part of this kind of service.
Does the Ericsson orchestrator take care of the interfacing with other systems like billing systems, payment systems, and so on?
That is correct. So we talked a lot about, let's say, the down-facing part, towards the network and automating those aspects. But it's equally important to talk about the interfaces and standards upwards towards web interfaces, billing systems, order management, commercial management systems, etc., which are equally part of this end-to-end automation. And part of the whole system is the open environment where you can connect to all these systems, following MEF, following TM Forum, following from some of the 3GPP standards.
And will it be a single, and there's another question, separate question, but is it a single orchestrator for the 5G and the SD-WAN and the network slicing, or is basically there are different orchestration systems that need to be to have some sort of master orchestrator?
Yeah, it seems to be a question for me.
Yeah, I can take that.
You want to start?
Yeah. So I think the one of the reasons why we put together this POC was this next generation platform that AT&T is putting together. It's called Software Defined Solutions, and so we partnered with Ericsson on that, the orchestration component of it. But I think if you look at the overall end-to-end solution that platform can provide you, is exactly that. So it is the BSS layer, like a billing, ordering, contracting, sales side of the applications, interacting with the initial part of the overall customer interaction or the sales interaction, all of that. There is a lot of built-in automation built into like existing platform that we have, and then on top of that, the Ericsson orchestration coming in as a operational side OSS layer application component, which basically help us configure, instantiate, install, and able to deploy this at customers' premise locations or on the edge or on the endpoints that are like this. This is a single orchestration platform which can deploy in multiple different domains, right? So it's not we are changing from one to another, or like if we need to change it, in some cases it does make sense. Like for example, SDN NFV and the 5G and the UCP, like all these SD-WAN appliances, if tools like VMware has their own orchestration, like vCO and the gateway and whatnot. So in those cases, it doesn't make sense to reinvent all of that and try to do that somewhere else. If it is more efficient to use what VMware is providing, we use that, and we're calling that concept as a thin client option. For the thin client connectivity, we are using one of the native orchestration platform or management tools that provided by those vendors. But in case of there is no tool like that available in certain components, like the routing functions or the firewall functions or some aspects of the security functions, then we are using Ericsson's orchestration capability, which is more like a thick client use case. So given both can be supported using the same master orchestrator platform, which kind of makes sense to put everything together in like a single multi-domain orchestration end-to-end solution with the BSS and the OSS layer together.
So when you talk about multi-domain, are you talking about multi-technology domain or also multi-operator domain? So if you for a certain customer, you don't have, for example, the edge footprint in certain locations that are required for that customer. Perhaps you have the majority, but you don't have all of them. Does this solution also enable automation with the required performance to basically buy in wholesale partner capabilities from other edges?
Yes. So when I say domain, multi-domain, it's basically the customer's endpoints. Basically, where the customer endpoints could be customers' premise locations, like their data centers, their branch offices, their all the retail locations that they have, or even the home office, the employee sitting at home and working from home. So that's one of the endpoints. And other endpoints would be like something like on the edge. Or on the cloud, we support multiple different cloud providers that are popular in the industry. Plus, like anything that is like a co-locations, like Equinix and places where the data centers are co-located with certain aspects of the 5G network or other SD-WAN network components. So we will be able to deploy it in multiple different domains using the same underlying platform and the technology.
Great, thank you, Vin. So, sorry,
Daniel, just wanted to add one thing to what Vin said, right? And this is all about the automation and the orchestration bit, right? As Vin was mentioning, right, the Ericsson orchestrator is actually, let's say, for example, on the SD-WAN side, right? It's making API calls to the VeloCloud orchestrator to bring up the edges. On the Azure side, it does make calls to the Azure APIs and it uses ARM templates, deployment templates to bring up the edges. Now, once the edge has been brought online and is activated fully, then you have to make sure that the business policies are correctly defined. Your traffic is identified, your business policies are defined, and the right traffic is flowing on the right, let's say, 5G slice, right? So all that you can do via the APIs. So the orchestrator, the Ericsson orchestrator will make those API calls to define the correct business policies to make sure that the traffic, in this case, the grab and go traffic, gets the right preferential treatment. So this is all automatic.
I'm so glad you brought up business policies, because I'd love to know how the customer actually gets their business requirements into the product, into the platform. In other words, how do they transfer those requirements, those business requirements they have into the service, and then from there, obviously, it's taken care of by a combination of AT&T SDS and Ericsson and VMware. But how do they get their requirements to those policies? How do they articulate those policies and their business requirements?
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up, Daniel, and it is a great point. And I can speak from SD-WAN perspective, right? So with VMware SD-WAN, you have these smart policies. We call them smart defaults. We have about 2,500 plus smart defaults built in that work for 99% of the customers, right? And these smart defaults will define how latency sensitive, how jitter sensitive, how loss sensitive an application is. It will define those application buckets. It could be a real time, it could be bulk, it could be transactional. And then we have a 3x3 QoS matrix, right? So we want to give it a high priority, medium, low, what kind of application is it? So an application traffic will fall into one of the 9 buckets to be prioritized accordingly, right? Now, this is all automated, right? The customer doesn't need to step in and change any of that, any of these thresholds. They work for 99% of the customers. Now, in this case, in this demo, we defined a custom application for the grab and go traffic, right? Now, when you define custom application, you get the ability to define your own policies. And as we showed, we defined as a high priority, multi-path. So all of this you can define within the business policy section, right? So that hopefully that answers that question.
It does, but it opens up another question because you talked about performance policies, but obviously there are security policies. So do you see a natural evolution here from SD-WAN managed service through to SASE managed service? Do you see this actually turning into SASE in the near future or the midterm?
Of course. That's a really nice segue. Of course, as we all know that MEF is as well working on the SASE definition. And
of course.
Close to finishing. and a lot of vendors out there in the industry are moving towards SASE, and SASE, I would say, is the natural evolution of SD-WAN, right? So you could always provide security at the edge, but I would say moving security to a centralized position makes a lot more sense, right? So you move with SASE, you're moving your security policies and orchestration and all of that to a central location. All of your data traffic from the branches, whether it's going to other branches, to other data centers, to the public cloud destinations, is all going through that SASE POP, for lack of a better term. So the SASE POP becomes the central point of policy enforcement. You could build firewalls, you could bring IPS systems, all kinds of secure web gateway kind of policies, sandboxing, DLP, what have you. So I would say SASE is a very natural evolution for SD-WAN, and that brings security policies, I would say zero trust network access into the picture. And as we all know that the evolution of the VPNs is the zero trust network access, right? And so to bring all of this into one place with secure access, with secure web gateway functionality, all of that into the SASE POP and provide that, I would say it's a really great step for going forward.
Thank you. So we have 1 minute left for my last question, and I'm going to ask each of you just in 15 seconds to say what you think the biggest challenge that you need to face going forward with this solution in order to take it to the next level. So I'll start with Will, then Martin, then Jaspreet, then Vin. Just one challenge that you're really focusing on now to make this happen. Will.
Wow, just I would say that's a tough one. I would say the technology is there. I think it's really picking the right use case to really solve this from an enterprise client perspective.
Choosing the use cases. Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say one of the key enablers and one of the challenges is to bring the whole ecosystem together is to have open standards. And I think MEF is doing a fantastic job, but then of course others like FreeGPP and TM Forum are enabling so that the whole industry can align and make this happen.
Standards. Okay, we'll keep working on that. Jaspreet.
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge from our side would be the buildup of the SASE POPs, because as we mentioned earlier, we would like to provide this access with the proper degree of security, the ability to build the 5G modems into our edge platforms, the ability for 5G to mature enough to provide network slicing on demand, right? That would be lovely. If we can provide network slicing on demand, that would really be the holy grail.
Okay, well, we're working on that in MEF, network slicing on demand. So you're the last one, Vin. What do you see as the biggest challenge that you need to deal with?
Yeah, I think I'm going to make this all work. When Will comes over to me, like with all these use cases that he wants to do, I'm going to figure it out how to do it. And I'm going to do it using this platform and more effectively, and customers will be very happy with it.
That's a very diplomatic answer. Thank you very much, Vin. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Jaspreet. Thank you, Martin. We'll let you sign off now. Thank you. And I will now hand back to Kevin. I think that was a very compelling demo and POC showcase, Kevin. You can see that a lot of the MEF work that we're doing is really very fundamental, whether it's SASE or SD-WAN or zero trust or network slicing, no shortage there. So thank you, and I'll hand back to you now, Kevin.
Yeah, great, Daniel. Thank you. As I watch this, I'm thinking I'm going to have a hard time wrapping this thing up because there was a lot of different technology components pulled together to deliver a very comprehensive end-to-end solution. Full use case, very, very strong demonstration, informative discussion on a whole bunch of points. And, from a MEF perspective, it's really impressive to see how the work that we're leading in the areas of SD-WAN, network slicing, 5G, LSO, is playing out as an enabler to all of this. And of course, there's no conversation what happened these days without the SASE topic coming into play. Zero trust, two areas that we're now in a leadership role. And none of this happens without the volunteer, strong participation from companies like AT&T, as Vin mentioned, been contributing for many years. Ericsson the same, maybe more recently with VMware as we entered the SD-WAN space. So please get involved with MEF for this, to move this exciting work forward. So as we close out today, let me tell you about the MEF 3.0 Proof of Concept Awards. Each POC is eligible, and there's 4 categories covering innovation, business impact, market game changer, and judge's choice. And they're going to be judged by a panel of 8 independent analysts. And as I watch each POC, I think these guys are going to have a really tough job to pick the winners. And of course, that's what we want to see. We're going to be announcing the winners during episode 3 of the MEF Infinite Edge series, which is airing on March 10th. So don't miss it, and good luck to today's tremendous team. You can get more information on today's POC by going to mef.net/POC/133, or you can just Google MEF POC 133, and there's a wealth of information on the page. Overview, diagrams, supporting materials, blogs. The on-demand content will be available, within approximately a day or so. So if you like what you saw today, pass on the information to your colleagues and get them to have a look. So with that, I want to thank the participants today, all of the people in the background in the teams that helped make this thing happen, the MEF production team, and of course you for attending today's POC. Thank you very much. Look forward to hosting the next MEF 3.0 POC showcase.